Welcome to our 10-minute table talk, everyone. I am Pastor Holman. Thank you very much for joining us here today. I want to draw your attention to the book of Proverbs and starting at verse number 22. And it reads this. It says, "How long, you simple ones, will you love simplicity? For scorners delight in their scorning and fools hate knowledge. Turn at my rebuke. Surely I will pour out my spirit on you. I will make my words known to you, because I have called and you have refused. I have stretched out my hand and no one regarded. Because you disdained all my counsel and would have none of my rebuke." Verse 26 says this, "I will also laugh at your calamity and I will mock you when terror comes." Proverbs 1:22 through 26. I want to speak to you today from this thought: America must repent. And I'm saying this in regards to America because, of course, this is the country that I live in, the nation that I live in. But as you look at America, which has often been said is the beacon light to the world, that is indeed true. When America sneezes, the rest of the world catches a cold. What happens in America are precursors to what happens in the rest of the world. Make no mistake about it, all eyes are on America at all times. So what America sanctions, the world holds up to be the gospel. And America right now is in a place that it has never been before. Now, before you tune out on me, I know many people have said that. I understand Ecclesiastes chapter number 3, that there is nothing new under the sun, and that unfortunately America has been in some very dire circumstances throughout its history. I understand that. But we're now living in a time to where truth is non-existent. Truth has now been left up to the deception of other people's wants and desires. We're now living in a world right now that functions and operates on the basis of blatant lies. We have sanctioned and we have ordained lies. An area of falsehood to where there can be no sure footing. We are now living in a society where anything goes. Now, the book of Judges tells us that every man did what was right in his own eyes. So he did not have a gauge by which he was to measure his actions. His heart, his understanding was his gauge. And so he did what was right in his own eyes. But it further goes on to say the end was destruction. I want you to look at America. This is not a Christian-y thing or any such thing like that, even though it is derived from the text. But I want you to see how far America has slidden off of its path. This once nation that was founded on Christian principles is no longer that nation founded on Christian principles. America is no longer a Christian nation. Make no mistake about it. Make no mistake about it. America is no longer a Christian nation. America has remnants of Christians that live within it, but it is no longer a Christian nation. We have all but abandoned the things of God and have told God that we don't want him in government. We don't want him in schools. We don't want him in our families. And God, we flat out don't want you in our lives. We have pushed God to the brink and said, God, we can do without you. And God, because of that, in Proverbs chapter number 1 says this: "Because you have disdained my counsel and would have none of my rebuke, I will also laugh at your calamity." Make no mistake about it, great people of the United States of America. America will be brought to its knees. You can only snub your finger in the face of God for so long before God begins to pour out judgment upon those things in which we have sanctioned. I want you to think about what's going on here in our nation. We have child pornography at an all-time high. We now have commercials that come on the TV that are sexualizing little kids. Little kids, 2, 3, 4, 5-year-old, and putting them in scantily dresses and putting them in front of TV screens in very sexual-oriented positions, all for the name of advertising and for sales. We've all but abandoned the things of God in regards to marriage. Marriage has now been turned on its head and can no longer even be recognized from somebody looking from out within. We have now sanctioned same-sex marriage. We have sanctioned and said it's okay for homosexuality and lesbianism. We have gender identity issues where we will allow a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old to go and begin to start to change his identity because they don't feel a certain way. Think about this. You will allow an 8-year-old to tell you whether or not he is a boy or a girl, but will not allow that 8-year-old to go to war and fight for his country. How can he determine who he is at 8 but not fight at 18? Here we are in America where we have turned all things right on their heads, and we're living in a chaotic society. And God says this: you turned in my rebuke. I wanted to pour out my spirit on you. I wanted to make me known to you, but you shunned me. And not only did you shun me, I want you to listen to the verses, the language in verse number 24. I called you and you refused. I stretched out my hand and you just totally disregarded. The language of Proverbs chapter number 1 is not a language of inconsequence. This is us being blatant in the face of God. God reaching out and we telling God no. God wanting to help, but us refusing him. This is a blatant and an intentive act on our side to shun the things of God. And therefore he says, because you have done this, what I'm getting ready to say is because of what you have done. And there is time in America where we have to get down and actually begin to accept the consequences for the things in which we have done. He says this in verse number 26, I will laugh at your calamity. I'm going to laugh at your calamity. Why am I going to laugh at your calamity? Why am I going to mock you when terror comes? Verse 26 says, why am I going to do this? Well, verse 25 tells us, because you disdained all of my counsel. Because you disdained it, you would not have none of my rebuke. And because you disdained my counsel, and because you would have none of my rebuke, I will laugh when terror comes upon you. Terror is coming up on us. We haven't seen nothing yet. If you think it's been bad in America, you haven't seen nothing yet. You haven't seen when the hedge has been let down. You haven't seen when the hand of protection has been lifted. And America is going to pay a great price because of how it has been blessed by God. And we have received far too many blessings from God in order to turn our back on him now. We need to repent. You need to repent. I need to repent. We all need to repent before a holy and just God. And by the standard and by the grace of God, should we do that and stay the hand of God so that our children's children are not paying for the stupid mistakes that we've done in our lifetime. It's time for America to repent. It's time for you, it's time for us, it's time for churches to bow down in sackcloth and ashes and give thanks and honor to the God in which we serve and repent from our wicked deeds. Repent and turn. Repent from, turn to is what we all must do in this season of our lives. And I want to thank you for joining us here on the set of Studio B. Remember, be informed, be empowered, Studio B. We love you guys. We'll see you next week.